Hello, everybody. Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. How you doing?
I'm all right. Absolutely knackered though. I've been working for the last couple of days. So on somebody's garden building bloody walls.
You've
So
been Bob the Builder for a couple of
Bob
days.
the Builder for a couple of days.
Nice. I bet it's made all your hands all tough and blistery and all that.
I know. I broke a nail yesterday. I was a little bit upset because I like playing with my
your
nails.
guitar fingernails.
I know. It's not
Seriously,
good.
dude. Did you not cover it on insurance or something? That's like losing a finger.
I tried to, but that's all we know.
Okay, so hello to those of you who are tuning in and listening. Please do kind of comment and join us, engage with the artists that we're going to bring out for you. So if you haven't seen the show before, it is a show about songwriting. So it is everything to do with songs that people love because of the lyrics, the way they write songs, the influences they have, all those sorts of things. So it's very much focused on that. So there's no covers. It's all original music. And the artists are the songwriters of the songs themselves as well. So we've got a great lineup for you tonight. So first of all, we have a guy we have flown in, especially on Learjet. And he's in the room next door to me. All the way from Nashville, my second home.
It definitely is.
And this guy I came across on a live stream where I was watching some other people, and I heard him play and I heard him sing, and I was listening to the lyrics, and I was thinking, geez, he is really good. I love his style. I love the way he plays. I love the writing.
Breaking up a little bit there.
Can you hear me still? Can you hear me? Please don't tell me I'm crashing. Tell me you can hear me. Okay. So it may be that my video freezes. It may be Sam's, actually. So it may be that he's breaking up. Because Sam's having a few PC problems, as you can see. His PC kind of works, then doesn't work, then works, then doesn't work, things like that. So it may be that you'll see him disappear, but he'll try and get back on. So I was watching this stream and I was listening to this guy thinking, geez, this is fantastic. So I thought some way, I've either got to get him on this show or I'm going to do a stream with him or something like this. So I've lost him. Look at that, my partner in crime, we've lost. So let me bring him in. So all the way from Nashville, we have Mr. Trey Ackerman.
Hey, how's it going?
Brilliant. Well, it was up until Sam dropped off, obviously, because he's having PC issues.
Yeah.
So he'll come back on at some point. So don't say anything yet, Trey. We'll kind of have some conversation in a minute. Let's get our other act in. So this is ordinarily where I would hand over to Sam and say, Sam, who's your act tonight? And he would say, well, I've got somebody from the UK. So the duo that we've got for you as well from the UK are and this may be slightly wrong in terms of how they like to be thought of, but when I listen to them, I hear very much an Americana folk with some kind of dirty blues kind of thrown in there as well. So it's a mix of sound, but it's a pretty fantastic sound, and they play a range of instruments and stuff as well. Now, I've seen them as a duo. I've seen them with their drummer as well. So again, I apologise if I don't quite get the name right, but I think today they are called Hatstand. So we shall welcome Keith and Kate, who are the Hatstand.
We are
I almost said it then, didn't I?
We are the Hatstand band sometimes. Yeah. Well, sometimes we're 5 or 7 people, and then we're definitely a band. But when we're a duo,
anyone that we can drag in at the time.
Exactly, yeah.
And I will definitely take your description. That was,
yeah.
Folky, Americana, dirty, yeah.
That is. That's a pretty good description, right? Isn't it?
Yeah,
that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
So it's
but dirty.
Yeah, I meant it in the right way, in the pleasant way. So what we've got, hopefully, is a lovely contrast tonight. So Trey, I'm hoping that we'll kind of hear, and listen out for this, folks, because when you hear this guy sing, you will hear definite hints of Willie Nelson. You'll hear definite hints
Sure.
of Lucas Nelson. And if you've never heard Lucas Nelson, go and listen, because there is a definite vibe in there, and it sounds fantastic. And the guitar he's playing as well, I want, because it sounds beautiful as well. And some great writing. And then in contrast, we're going to hear some real kind of earthy, rootsy, bluesy, Americana kind of music from Hatstand as well. So it's going to be a great show. Remember, as an audience, please participate. So ask questions, kind of give feedback and things like that as well, because you're an important part of it as well. So without further ado, hopefully Sam will get back on, because it would be a real shame if I have to do a show without him, because we've done every show together. But, you know, I know he's got problems. So we'll start off then. Our first kind of bit here, he is. He's back. Woo! You're back.
Yay!
Yeah.
All I've had, people, for the last couple of weeks is computer problems, internet problems. Yeah.
That comment you're trying to make, don't make it. Just
Don't make it,
withdraw.
just don't say
Withdraw. So go and get a gin or something like that. You know,
I might go and get me wine in a minute.
Let it relax you. So we'll start off. The way we usually start off is just to try and get a sense of a bit of background in terms of where you are, kind of where you live, those sorts of things. Just to kind of, so people can get an understanding of where you exist. So Trey, I know you live in Nashville, and Keith and Kate, I know you're in Northampton area, kind of Midlands.
Rugby.
They're in rugby.
Warwickshire.
Warwickshire. Yeah.
Okay,
Shakespeare's.
you could probably throw a stone from Northamptonshire and still hit rugby, couldn't you?
Absolutely.
If you're strong, yeah.
Yeah.
Got away with that one.
Barely,
okay.
barely.
So Trey, give us a bit of your background. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, that kind of thing. Not a complete life story. We've got like
Sure.
maybe
Just a minute's worth.
that's what I was kind of thinking. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I make it real easy for you. I'm from Nashville. I was born here. My parents were in the music business here. My grandparents were in the music business here. And so I was kind of raised in it, raised in the studios, raised backstage at the Grand Ole Opry and some of the television shows that were produced here that my father participated in. So I was kind of surrounded. My dad was a studio musician here. He cut a lot of records. He was a drummer. And and he was one of what they call the A-team drummers. He played on a lot of records, you know, like Good Hearted Woman with Waylon, and he played drums on Willie Nelson's Yesterday's Wine album, for example, and that song I've Been Everywhere by Hank Snow. And then you know, that was kind of my upbringing, and I thought everybody played that way until I tried to have my own little band as a kid, and we were rehearsing the same song for like 3 weeks. I was like, man, we should have had this song in like 10 minutes. That's what I was exposed to, you know, some of the very best players that would just cut record after record after record, you know, 3 number 1 hits in a day with 3 different artists, and the first time they would hear a song, they would play it back, and it sounded like the record to me, and that's what I was exposed to. You know, I didn't realize these guys were the best of the best. But anyway, and I still try to emulate that. You know, it's still what I aspire to.
Wow.
And so again, I guess for me, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. You were born and raised in Nashville. I kind of go, why? So
Yeah.
Trey, have you got like a brother or anything?
No, I have 2
Do you want one?
sisters.
Do you want a brother? Yeah. We knew what was coming. I feel an adoption coming on. Yeah. But only if I can play your guitar as well. That's
Hey,
it, yeah.
totally.
Seriously, next time I come over to Nashville, we're going to find somewhere to be able to sit and jam.
And I'll be in your suitcase, Andy.
That's it, yeah. Although we'll have to work around customs, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, for me as a country guy, listening to that and kind of some of that heritage, and you talk about your father playing drums and stuff like that on tracks which I would have listened to, you kind of then go, there's always something, I think, which is an extra special bonus when someone says to you, "My dad played on that," and then you listen to it with a new pair of ears almost, and you kind of a newer level of respect. So that's absolutely amazing. I mean, the fact that you again are, I suppose, subjected to all that in a good way.
Yeah.
And then you kind of go, yeah, I know what I want to do. I know what I want to be. I want to play guitar. I want to be in bands or whatever. My dad was an aircraft technician, and I couldn't really see myself doing the same.
You say that, Andy, but you are always on your flight simulators.
Yeah, not so much now because my computer broke the other day. But let's not talk about computers breaking because that won't go well. So Kate and Nick. Why do I keep saying Nick?
Keith.
I don't know. Everybody does it.
Where you put it? Where you put on Facebook Keith Nicholas? For some reason in my brain, I keep seeing it as Nick.
It's all right. I
so
get
Kate,
emails to Nick all the time.
Yeah.
That's
Keith.
it's so boring compared to that.
Yeah.
We're not from musical families. We're not from Nashville. I'm from Birmingham originally. Kate's from
Somerset, Ireland. I'm Irish family, brought up in Somerset.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this came about as a complete accident. We actually, Kate's daughter was looking for a guitarist, and Kate didn't want to play guitar anymore, so I was going to play guitar for Kate's daughter. So she came round here and saw the double bass, and I started playing double bass, so Kate had to carry on playing guitar. And then we formed a folk band, a trio, with a lovely violinist, but she went off to have a baby, which left us, what are we going to do now? And so we carried on trying to find out what we sound like without a lovely violinist or without Kate's daughter, and it turns out we sound like Hatstand.
And
So-
when Keith says I didn't want to play anymore, like I hadn't played, like I am a complete novice in this. Like Keith's been playing for like 40, 50 years, and I played as a kid. My dad was a carpenter. He brought a guitar home one day and went, "There you go, found that today in a skip, have a go." And I played until I left home, and then once I'd left home and life and relationships and all of that, guitar went away, never came out the loft until many 30 plus years later.
So I was going to say you don't. So when you play and when you pick, you sure as heck don't sound like a novice.
I know.
Trust
definitely
me, I
tickles
banjo
them
in
strings.
lockdown.
Well, I mean, and that's a million times better than I can play my banjo. And I've had my banjo for at least a year and a half. So
The thing is,
so
I think I've always loved music. I've always listened to music. I've always had music in my head. But not everyone's life is cut out in a way that allows for that to happen. And then I was married for many years, and things change, and there was a divorce, and as much
practiced
as that's
once,
a sad
didn't
thing,
want to try it again.
a whole new life opens up, and suddenly here I am, and I'm doing this, and I maybe never would have done that otherwise. So every cloud.
So as a duo, then, how long have you been playing together?
We've known each other for about 6 years.
6 years, yeah.
Okay.
6 years.
Well,
Is
what
it-
I probably do is it's just like I've got a back catalogue of back actually says 40, 50 years. I went places as a teenager. I literally have hundreds and hundreds of songs. So I dig through and I find one. And in the early stages of lockdown, when we couldn't have to get together, I was recording songs and said to Kate, "We got to 96 songs." She said, "Stop!"
I can't even.
And we've been
remember
picking over the bones of that the past few months to work out which ones we were like. Yeah.
Keith knows all the technicals. He knows like what chords are called and stuff, and I just.
Kate's got
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah, we refer to them as fingers there chords.
that's
Other
it,
people say it's a C minor or something. We just go, it's a fingers there chord.
What chord is that? I do it.
C with the finger missing, or F with the finger missing. It
You
works
can
as
the
well,
notes
doesn't
and everything.
Well, I was watching a Jimmy Buffett sort of session that I think his daughter runs, and he talks about his different songs and stuff like that, and he was talking about this one. He put his fingers in a place. He went, "I have no idea what that chord is called," he said, "but it's a fingers there chord." Oh, and I was like, that's great. That's great. From now
long
on,
as you know-
any chord
as long
I
as you know
don't
where they
know.
go.
Yeah,
Once you put them in the same place every time when you mean to, that'll do.
that's it.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
right. Consistency helps,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. And I call a C sharp a C up one chord.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, why not? Why not?
Oh yeah.
That's great. So again, I would say, watching you a few times in different places, you sound like you have been playing together for longer. It sounds like you kind
We are
of
very lucky.
fit in that sort of way.
We've noticed when we play guitar, our styles are so different. We actually play in the gaps between each other. So it sounds sometimes
Okay.
like we're much flashier than we are, simply because we play in the gaps. And some of our arrangements, we're surprised when we hear them back because we don't realise quite what we're doing. Because we're both just playing what we think is the same thing. And then we realise, and of course it works with the dual bass brilliantly. And Kate's got such a unique strumming style. And she's got such rhythm. And she would deny this, but when we first got together, we did a thing locally, Rugby Tap, where we played acoustically, week in, week out. When we first started, Kate's like, what do we do? I said, you just holler. I sing loud, you sing loud alongside. And she looked at me like, you're an idiot. But she did it, one thing was that, and the voice got louder, and the guitar string got louder. She's not as loud as me, obviously, because I'm a gobshite, but she's she can hold her own. And with all that kind of energy, and of course, as you know, you just have to watch us, we just love doing it. And it's a feedback loop. We have that much fun, you want to do some more. And then,
Yeah. It's literally
Well,
that.
and they'll tell you a little bit later on, but they've just produced an album as well in lockdown. They will say
Accidental
by
album.
accident. I don't know
wasn't
how
the
anyone does
intention.
an album
No,
by
we-
accident.
We literally said to each other, you know that way where you go for a walk, you go for a meander, just a wander, and you think you're on the flat, and then you realise at some point, you look behind you and you're like, oh, we've actually gone up a great big hill, and we didn't even realise it. We genuinely, like,
Well,
accidental.
look, we started off recording one track and now we've got 12. It's an album.
well, we started off
Yeah.
doing a 4-track keepsake.
So again, we'll explain how you can kind of get those and things like that later on. So let's get into some music, because for some of our people, they love the chat, but they also are here to listen to music as well. So
Cool.
so what I would kind of suggest is Trey, if you don't mind going first, we'll get you to go first. And so the kind of general way is you'll do 2 songs, and you can tell us about those songs. So you can introduce the songs, tell us about the story behind it, those sorts of things.
Right.
And then as soon as you've done your 2, I'll swap you straight over with Hatstand. And Hatstand, you do the same. Introduce your 2 songs, tell us about the inspiration behind them, those sorts of things.
Okay.
So for now, I will remove us back down to the green room or wherever it is. And then, Trey, the floor will be yours.
Okay.
And we'll see you in about, I don't know, 8 minutes, I guess, 7 minutes.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay. So this first song that I'm going to do is a co-write with a friend, Dee Moeller, and she's been a professional songwriter for years and years. And I think one of the favorite songs that she's written that I like is, well, now it just escaped me now that I was just about to come out of my mouth and then it left. Yeah, I'll think of it. But Dee Moeller. We wrote this one together, and usually when I write songs, it starts out as a just music and melody, and then based on the mood, that music and melody seem to inspire lyrics. And Dee and I basically wrote this from a musical piece first, and it's called "Too Soon." It goes like this. Tried everything, but you still walked out on me. And now I would give anything just to keep you here with me. But after time has gone by, and said goodbye too soon. Well, you said you tried. Well, hell, we both just played our part, and I long for you to see what I needed in my heart, but you never saw all the signs. So we did what lovers do and crossed that line too soon. Yes, we tried. Still I felt all alone. Even when you were home, you weren't there. Ooh, and you promised me to love would always be true till you left without a care. Ooh, we never saw all the signs. So we did what lovers do and said goodbye too soon. And I tried everything, but you still walked out that door. So that one was Too Soon that I co-wrote with D. Muller. And since I got the capo one right here, I'll just do another song that I've got in the same key. This one is called Along for the Ride. And again, this one started with the music and melody, and then I had a friend of mine, Greg Matthews, here in Nashville. He's also a native Nashvilleian. We wrote this one together. So, Along for the Ride. Let your mistakes behind you. Let the blue sky remind you, and the white lines on the highway lead you to a better day. From where you've been to where you're going, love will lead the way. Things went to hell in Colorado. It's not the path you thought you'd follow. Well, you were busy making plans. Life seemed to pass you by. Don't be afraid of letting go. Go along for the ride. So go ahead and take a chance. No hands and no regrets. Wind in your hair, it's time to fly. And go along for the ride. Whether successes or disasters, destination just don't matter. You find the devil in the details, It's the journey that's the prize. So let your heart be your guide and go along for the ride. So go ahead and take a chance. No hands and no regrets. Wind in your hair, it's time to fly. Go along for the ride. So go ahead and take a chance. No hands and no regrets. Wind in your hair, let it fly. Go along for the ride. Just let your heart be your guide. You're just along for the ride. Thank you, guys.
Oh, fantastic. So stay tuned if you want to hear more from Trey, some more kind of great songs. I'll tell you what I love as well, I can't do it, is Trey, for those who don't know, Trey's doing something called cross-picking.
Yep.
Which is kind of where he holds the plectrum in between his fingers, and he can still pick with his fingers as well.
Yeah.
It just makes me want to hate him, because he's just so good at doing it.
I always called it hybrid picking, but I don't know what you actually call it. I just did it.
No, it is hybrid picking. It's not cross picking. Cross picking is
Yeah.
where you're just doing it with a pick, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that's it.
Yeah.
So cross picking is where you're picking across the strings from
Yeah.
up to down. It's that bluegrass
Yeah.
style, isn't it?
Yeah, bluegrass, George
That's
Shuffler
it.
style. Yeah.
That's it. So hybrid picking, I would love to be.
Hybrid,
I've
yeah.
tried it a few times, but it is almost like putting flippers on my hands and trying to wade with flippers. It's just a disaster. But
Yeah.
it
And I
sounded.
tried it with fingernails too, but I just can't keep the nails. You know, I can't keep them. So it's just, fleshy fingertips and
Do you know
actually a
what?
mandolin.
I'm really lucky. In my fingernails, just seem to grow incredibly quick, and they are like industrial safety glass. They never tend to break or anything. It requires a chainsaw to break them,
Yeah.
but it's good in one way.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about it. So right, we will hear more from Trey in a little while. We will do some more chatting. Right now, I'm going to swap you into the green room, and then we'll chat some more in a little bit. So
Sounds
see you in a
good.
few. And we will bring in Hatstand. And Hatstand are going to do a couple of songs for you now and explain the songs. And then we'll have a bit more chat. So see you in about 4 or 5 minutes.
All right then.
Cool.
Oh, I can't get rid of
Right.
myself. There we go.
Hello, thanks for having us. We've got a variety of stuff tonight. Some old ones we put new arrangements to, and some new ones. This is a brand spanking new one. And I don't need to explain this, you'll get this the moment it gets to the chorus. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's been said before, but anyway, life somehow seems better than yesterday. Sun is shining, winter gone, favorite hat, and best shoes on. Heading out to see what's going on. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be just fine. Feet can't touch the ground, gotta touch the sky. It's gonna be alright. Gonna be just fine. Feet can't touch the ground, touch the sky. Can't stop smiling,
Can't stop smiling.
can't stop grinning.
Can't stop grinning.
Heart is pounding,
Heart is pounding.
head is spinning. Everything is gonna be just fine. Dust off the diary, making plans.
I'm making plans.
Seems a new life
Seems a new life
just began. Time to buy that case of sparkling wine. It's gonna be alright.
Gonna be alright.
It's gonna be just fine.
Gonna be just fine.
We can't touch the ground, gonna touch the sky. Gonna be alright.
Gonna be alright.
Gonna be just fine.
Gonna be just fine.
We can't touch the ground, gonna touch the sky. So many things
So many things
have been neglected.
have been neglected.
So many people
So many people
to connect with.
with.
Don't call them on the phone, meet face to face. Can't stand still,
I can't stand still.
can't hesitate.
Can't hesitate.
I can't decide.
I can't decide.
Can't concentrate.
Better write it down
just in case. Gonna be alright.
Gonna be alright.
Gonna be just fine.
Gonna be just fine.
Feet can't touch the ground, gonna touch the sky. Gonna be alright.
Gonna be alright.
Gonna be just fine.
Gonna be just fine.
Feet can't touch the ground, gonna touch the sky. One more time. Gonna be alright.
Gonna be alright.
Gonna be just fine.
Gonna be just fine.
Feet can't touch the ground, gonna touch the sky. Thank you. That's going to be alright, obviously. And it is going to be alright. One day, normality will return and we'll have a grand old time. This next one, we've gone for an instrument change because it's quicker than moving capos. As Trey just said, he kept his capo at the same position. But all our songs are a bit more chaotic, so we'll just change instruments because it's quicker. But this is a real rarity because Kate's actually going to sing the lead on this one, which doesn't usually happen. But she wrote this, and then we rearranged it especially for tonight with an idea that Kate's had this in mind for ages.
Yeah.
It's called The Waltz.
I am very well. Anyone who knows Hatstand knows I just whack out harmonies. I don't
Moving
normally.
further forward to the mic.
I don't normally sing.
Turn the mic, the camera to you. There we go.
So scary as it is, and unaccustomed as I am, I'm just going to go for it. It's called The Waltz, and it's basically a kind of an imagined reunion between friends, lovers, who've been separated by time, life, the universe, pandemic, death. Yeah, just that.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
She looks out over the garden with flowers. A lifetime melts in a few precious hours as the sepia sky begins to yield. They waltz across the field. The glitterable sun shimmers. Confetti leaves applaud. Autumn rainfall glimmers on their grass. Waltz on a carpet of flowers, feel a lifetime love in a few breaths as the sepia sky begins to yield. They waltz across the field.
Thank you, The Waltz. Featuring Kate singing.
Yeah. Excellent. That's absolutely brilliant.
That is by far our gentlest tune.
I was going to say we ignore the little kind of. Hopefully nobody saw the. You know when we used to
That
watch
was like
It'll
a
Be Alright on the
comedy
Night
thing.
many years ago. Yeah. And you just see the headphones slightly sliding backwards and
Yeah,
backwards
yeah.
and backwards.
I just
You did
realised that's
extremely well, Kate.
That's
You did
so
extremely
scary.
well.
I'm so sorry. That's the first time I've ever actually sung
On a live stream.
on a live stream.
So have
I'm
you
definitely
ever
that
sung? Have you ever you've sung in pubs and things like that, haven't you?
I've sung on my own. Have I?
Yes.
No.
I
Maybe
know
once-
he's part of this.
Maybe once or twice.
In the summer, we did a
Okay.
few outside things where Kate took the lead on a few songs.
When I said
Well,
novice,
nudging it.
I mean I'm not.
Nudging her forwards.
Well, I have to say it was a beautiful song, and
thank
it
you.
reminded me of that. If you've ever watched the Disney kind of film Anastasia,
Haven't
it's
actually,
got
no.
that. It's got that vibe of that kind of Russian Tsar type music box type song. It's a beautiful melody and it's really well written. Really well written.
Oh,
Thank
cool.
you.
Very
Thank you very
kind,
much.
very folk. That'll appeal to the folk audience. I have to say. If it doesn't, then they're mad. They're mad.
Yeah.
I don't know what we play. It's one of those funny things because we usually do the Hatstand raucous thing. Songs like that don't escape this room very often. It's just a
No,
funny thing. We
they're
don't.
just
It-
here.
it
They
should.
just exist here.
It should. You should let it. So Kate, on this new album thing that you've done,
was
have you
accidental
written
album.
many of the songs as well?
Oh, they're all covers.
They're
the whole.
all covers. It's just,
Are they?
they're-
Oh,
yeah.
That's
They're
what I say. It's just a bunch of covers that we kind of
It's
learned.
just a lockdown ping pong
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
That's all.
So my advice to you was to, while you're in the flow, get writing and keep writing, because that song was really good.
Well, I think we
It's
are
really, really
writing.
good to see
We just
more
have
coming
recording it a bit.
Yeah. Just I have written
And
a couple
there-
of songs that other people have sung and things like that. But I
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's just the singing bit is like. I'm
Well,
not
I
an
do think
actual
you should sing
performer.
some more. Yeah, you definitely
Thank
should
you.
sing some more.
Definitely. There you go.
Um,
Not just me saying it.
So thank you very much for your first two songs. Unfortunately, you will see there is no Sam. He has disappeared.
Oh,
His laptop has gone. No, I am not playing anymore. I am taking my processor and I'm going home.
well.
So he's now sitting there thumping it, smashing it, swearing at it, all sorts of stuff. So he
Watching on
will,
his
he
phone.
will, yeah. Well, he will either come back. The problem with things like iPhones is unless you've got a specific app to turn the mic and the speaker off, you get this double processing of sound.
Oh, right, yeah.
You get awful echoes. It's a disaster. So it might just be the case that we've lost him for tonight and we'll see him next time. Hopefully he'll kind of tune in and watch. So we'll get on to some more chat. First of all, I just want to say hello to a few people who are in the chat. Hopefully, folks, you can see that as well. So hello
I can't see
to
it.
Courtney,
I can-
who's a
I'll see if I can keep it
regular
on.
kind of check-in for us. Hello to Jenny. Jenny is Sam's other half, who is currently, about halfway through her pregnancy. Great to kind of see you online. Gregory Schemmel is Sam's dad, who always kind of checks in when he can. Bless you,
Oh,
Mr.
Lawrence,
Schemmel.
you
I
did.
hope you are. I hope you are on the mend, and I hope you're looking after yourself. And if not, I hope someone else is looking after you. David Maddox, hello. Lauren South, hello. And again, I guess maybe some of these are people you know of.
Oh, yeah.
And Lauren.
Lauren is the missing violinist that made
Yeah.
this become a thing.
Yeah. That makes
Okay.
his green grass.
We're getting back together, though, after lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say what they were saying when you weren't on camera is how dare she leave us, how dare she leave us in the lurch.
That's right.
Yeah.
No.
So Lauren, you are welcome back. I guess anytime. You're an important aspect. So
She is.
Oh,
So
she
do
used
get
to
back
go.
soon.
Oh, we've got plans. We're going to get together. As soon as we can get together, we're going to get the Greengrass back up and running again. So, yeah, it's definitely happening. But Lauren's lovely voice.
So we've got David Maddox is Sam's uncle. So it looks like the entire Sam Schemmel family is tuned in and is commenting, which
And
is
he's not
lovely
here.
because we love them dearly. And Dave Gibson, hi from MK. Is that Milton Keynes or is that kind of MK somewhere further afield? Do let us know. And again, if you've got any questions you want to ask the acts and the artists, please do ask them away. We had some great questions coming out last month from people who were just keen to know stuff about the artists and also get their views on different things to do with songwriting. So do feel free to ask away. So I shall start us rolling. So the question we always ask is, what were your, I guess, and we've had a little bit of this from Trey, I think, but what were your earliest influences into kind of just listening to music before you even kind of really thought about playing and kind of writing songs? What was the music, I guess, you grew up on and kind of inspired you? You kind of went, yes, this is my era. So we'll ask Hatstand first.
Oh, it's dead easy. It all starts with your parents and what they put on the radio and whatever. So funny enough, it's all the country artists you mentioned, plus things like the Seekers. Remember them from Australia?
Oh, yeah.
And,
The Seekers or the New Seekers?
Not the New Seekers, no, the
Okay.
original Seekers from Australia.
Yeah.
They were Australian, weren't they?
That's
And the Spinners and the Dubliners and all those folky acts. And then later on,
Dublin.
kind of got into that slightly dirtier side of folk music with the Pogues and that. And then Tom Waits. Which is kind of, you can hear all those in our sound, because that's where we borrow all our chords from and our...
So that is a pretty eclectic range, I have to say.
Well, I grew up listening to, my dad was a massive country and western fan. So,
Right.
yeah, so he had all that kind of old school country. And it was all, you know, I don't know, Loretta Lynn and Waylon Jennings and
Don Williams.
Don Williams and all that.
Well, at least
that
one of
kind
those
stuff.
artists is still alive.
Yeah, but also both my parents were Irish, so there was lots of Irish influences too.
Paddy Riley and...
Yeah, all of
Right.
that, you know, all just so it was about, and I lived in Somerset, so the Wurzels, of course, played a massive influence on my music education.
Yeah. Do you know, I almost once applied for a job as a daffodil picker in Somerset.
Did you?
Heaven knows why.
Now
I
there's
must
a
have been
waste of a
super.
vocation.
I
You
must
wanted
have
to be
been
the
super
Wurzels,
bored
obviously.
doing what I was doing. Yeah. But hence to say, I never got the job. Maybe my picking skills weren't good enough. I don't know. That's it. But so I suppose. So again, a lot of country vibe, a lot of kind of a bit of Irish influence as well. I mean, Dubliners did some great serious tracks, and they also did some really quirky comedy tracks and things like that as well.
And they did some fantastic
Great.
murder ballads. I mean, Wheelie Wallia, she stuck a knife in the baby's head. You know, that is a brilliant line for a murder ballad, isn't it? Every time I sing
Yeah.
it, people look at me like I've done it personally. I'm just singing the song.
But I guess when you then look at things like the Louvin brothers, and when you hear things like Knoxville Girl and stuff like that, you know, it's the same sort of thing. Buried her in a 3-foot grave or whatever. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, one
Hit
of
her
my
over the
favourite
head with a
songs
piece
is,
of wood and chucked her in the river.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those kind of dark songs tend to appeal.
Yeah. So-
You know, we say it allows us to be nice people in real life. That we just sing all these,
Right.
you know. But
So
it
why
turns,
is
I
it
don't have
then-
TV and don't watch telly, but it turns out a lot of the songs that we have liked recently over the last couple of years have been from TV things like apparently The Walking Dead. I've never seen it, I don't know it,
Yeah.
but I
Right.
love the kinds of songs that they
So,
do.
folks,
and
just to
Sons
let
of
you know, if
Anarchy.
you ever go and see Hatstand in concert, just make sure you're far enough away from the stage. Just in case. I'm just saying, just in case. Yeah. Just in case some of that sort of like dark murder track spills out over the stage. You know, we don't want any blood on our hands. but it's great again because you kind of think that sort of stuff probably wasn't what your parents had. So at some point you kind of grow into your own interest and stuff like that. So we'll come on to a bit of that. So, so Trey, we've heard a little bit about obviously big influence, your father playing drums and stuff like that growing up in Nashville. What other kind of influences and music did you listen to back then?
So, Dad was a session player, and he played on a lot of records as a drummer. And he would always get the promotional copies that would go out to the DJ, the radio DJs and what have you, and stacks and stacks and stacks of these records. And the ones that I would listen to the most, I think. As a kid, and I'm talking a young kid, so we're in the late '60s and early '70s era. I was born in '63, so I was already listening. And I would say in the early days, I was digging Tom Jones, I was digging Sonny and Cher, the Monkees. There was, I liked the early Willie Nelson stuff that was coming out at that time. It was kind of, the more soothing Nashville sound, if you will.
So not the White Lightning stuff.
Well, so interesting you should say that. I like that as well. So there was that smooth kind of the Bradley brothers and Chet Atkins produced, Anita Kerr produced type smoother Nashville sound that had strings and stuff to it. But then on the flip side, I was also listening to Creedence Clearwater Revival, and I was listening to the stuff produced by Phil Spector, which was kind of an odd mix for an 8 or 10-year-old kid to listen to.
I mean, that's like. Phil Spector, that's like what I was like. What would you describe it as really? That's getting on for punk, isn't it?
The wall of sound, just a wall of sound. Yeah. So those were kind of my and I liked, I just loved Tom Jones' voice, and he was my favorite male singer in those early days. Him and I'm gonna stop right there and say the earliest influences would be that.
Right.
If that makes any sense at all.
So that's interesting. So you're born and bred in Nashville, but a number of the acts you talk about are not actually would associate with Nashville at all. I mean, Tom Jones obviously because he's Welsh. But even things like the Monkees and Sonny and Cher, they're kind of pop rock type acts.
But they recorded in Nashville. Louis Armstrong, they would record in Nashville. Everybody wanted to play with that 18 group of musicians and cut records with them. So they were coming in from all over. A lot of the folk singers were coming in. Bob Seger, even Bob Dylan with his Blonde on Blonde album. They cut that in Nashville.
Was it because of the engineering that was leading to a certain style and sound, or was it just the kudos of the place?
It was the attitude. It was the musicians, the quality of the musicians, the fact that they would never play one extra note. It was only play exactly what the song needed and nothing more. Even though they were monster players, some of the very best players that could play circles around anybody. You would never know it because they only played, exactly what that song needed and not one note more.
Oh, that is an art, though, isn't it? Yeah.
It's an art.
By B.B. King.
Yeah.
B.B. King could play one note, but it's the right note.
Yeah, it was the right note and played the right way too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, I played in a honky tonk band years ago with a guy who in the UK. Would have been classed as one of the best rock and roll guitar players of his generation. I mean, he was super. He could play anything, and he copied the styles of Eddie Cochran, Chet Atkins, Gene Vincent's guitarist, whatever it was, Cliff Gallup, all those kind of people.
Yeah.
And so because he played in a bunch of different rockabilly bands as well, he got to play support act for Jerry Lee Lewis and Little Richard and things like that.
Yep.
Now, he's only probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years older than me. But I went to see him play in one of these support shows. and we were stood backstage, and the bands had come off and everything, and I think it was Jerry Lee Lewis's band had come off, and the guitarist from the band, who was the guitarist from the original recordings, came out, and you're going to have to excuse my French, and he came up to my friend Darren, he went, "Son," he said, "you piss me off." and Darren's standing there going, I'm sorry, what did I do? He says, back in the 50s, he said, when we played a song, we played the song the same way every time. Because that's what was expected. You played it note for note, you played it the same way. You never deviated, you did it. And he said, we've been on tour for about 4 weeks, and he said, I've never seen you play the same song twice the same way. and what he was saying is, I admire that because you have freedom to do all of that stuff. But when we were doing it, we had to play the same thing because it's, as you say, it's what was expected. Yep. So you kind of think these people are legends and you would hold them in awe, but you kind of go, in some ways, you recognise that they were constricted at some stages because you were a session musician, I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
those session players would play the clubs, just like you were talking about earlier, playing downtown Nashville. A lot of them, they were doing the sessions during the daytime, but Dad loved to play live gigs. And he would always have a band, and they would play clubs around Nashville, and you'd have, Farron Young and Mel Tillis and people like that come out and get up and sing. And a lot of times it was the band were the guys that played on the record. But you wouldn't know it, and that's how they would cut loose.
Yeah.
And that's how you got bands like Barefoot Jerry and Area Code 615. They were all the session players, and they would just cut loose in between songs or artists in the studio, and they would just, they decided to just take that on the road.
And I never quite realised that Glenn Campbell was a session musician for people like Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash and things like that before making his own kind of way into his own stardom. And you kind of think,
happened to be a great vocalist too, and had that charisma and that ability to play, that musicianship, and his vocal stylings and his tone and that charisma, it just translated. He's just one of those lightning in a bottle kind of guys.
And his guitar playing skills were just phenomenal. This is the trouble. See, we get lost in this conversation, and people listening in go, "Oh, for God's sake, shut up and sing some songs." But actually, people do say they like the chat as well. So hopefully, what I would always say, audience, is if you want us to skip to these songs and just tell us. I may not listen, but so one other question, I just really want to quickly, I quickly want to ask you. I very want to ask you. Do you know what? Who cares? Yeah. So I just want to ask you. At a point, you will have heard a song, or you will have heard an artist, where you then thought, I want to do that. I want to start playing like that, or I want to start writing like that, or things like that. So I just want you to think, who is that artist that single-handedly, I guess, inspired you to want to play and want to write more than anyone else? So I'll ask Trey first this time. Who would yours be?
Gosh, what's his name? And I played this record 1,000,000 times, but...
Cheer Up, Sleepy Monkeys.
Yeah.
Sweet Caroline.
No.
Oh, Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond, that's it.
Sweet Caroline.
Neil Diamond. That that song and that song I Am, I Said, I wanted to do that. I wanted to be able to sing like that,
There we have another guy who just oozes charisma, capability. And again, he can play. He can play.
Yep, that was the first voice that just I wanted to do that. I wanted to be able to do that.
Yeah, my dad fell in love with him as well. And what was the album he had out that had him? It was a film, wasn't there?
Yeah.
What was the film he did? Star something.
No idea.
Stars Born, maybe that wasn't it, was it?
No, there's
I don't-
someone in the audience. Look it up. He did an album. He was in a film and he did an album and it was called Star Something. And every track on this album, it's like sometimes you'll buy an album and you'll think, yeah, I like maybe 3 tracks. The other ones are fillers. Every track on this album, and it's got things like I Am, I Said, Coming to America, things like that.
Yeah.
And it's just bonkers good, every track on it. But I'm sure it's the soundtrack to the film. I'll look it up while you're playing next time. So Keith, who would yours be?
It's a whole load of people because I've played so many different styles over the years. So Ralph McTell was the first one, so he made me learn ragtime guitar. And then I saw Danny Thompson, so I learned to play double. I learned to play double bass by accident at school, that's another story. And I saw Danny Thompson, I thought, right, I need to learn double bass properly now. And then after that, I saw some slide guitarists. And I can't remember who's got it. Probably the old blues, from the old blues guys, you know. Sonny Terry, Brandon McGee, that kind of era. And I sat down and learned to slide guitar. I just kind of kept moving on. And so with each new phase, it's like, I need to learn some new music. And then, I saw Sean Cannon for the Londoners donkeys years ago with a Spanish guitar. I thought, I can sing and play Spanish guitar, I need to do that. And so I just keep having a new iteration of... Kate will tell you, I never stop learning new songs. I'm always desperate for new material and new ideas. So it's an iterative process.
So what we hear is you learn bass accidentally and you produce an album accidentally.
Yeah, it's my whole...
You do a lot of stuff by
walking
accident.
accident.
Yeah, I don't have a direction. I just crash into things, really.
Yeah. Okay, so one thing I would say is, Keith, if you haven't heard of them already, check out a duo called Mandolin Orange.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we saw them in Oxford a couple of years ago. We were on holiday.
They're fantastic.
We got the holiday range. It was so sad because they were so good and the venue was so dreadful. But they are
Right.
amazing. Yeah,
I
love
could
them.
see some of this. I could see you kind of going, actually, we could do these songs. Some of these.
I've had a
songs,
go on a
'cause
couple, but they
are
haven't
good.
worked yet. But I'll keep trying. I'll find the voice for them eventually. Yeah, I do like their stuff. Yeah.
Okay, Kate, what would yours be?
Well, growing up is a whole different story because there was not a lot of music, and it was more about, you know, nunneries and Catholicism and all of that. So, but I do remember.
Are you
Mary
talking Sound of
O'Hara.
Music nunneries, or are you talking?
No. There was
I'm just trying to
there was
clarify.
An Irish singer called Mary O'Hara, who had been a nun and then left the nunnery, and she did this song called I think it was called Grey October Clouds or something like that. She had a beautiful, beautiful voice, and I remember thinking, well, she left the nunnery, so if I am an epic fail at being the nun thing, which was intentionally, you know, originally the plan, then, you know, maybe I could, like, you know, be like her and do that, you know. But yeah, and just, I have to say, honestly, when I say I am new to this, I really am new to this. So I didn't ever think when I was growing up, I want to do that. It just wasn't, I never imagined that I could. It never entered my head. So it's just kind of not a question I can really answer in a satisfactory way for you, I'm afraid. 'Cause
Yeah. Well, hey, look, the question is always the kind of recipient's choice to then work out, or how do I want to respond? So there is no right or wrong answer
Let me tell you the
to any of
truth.
this. It's curiosity, really, because
Yeah.
when you start to listen to what people do now, what I often find is what they grew up on. You then realise it's a journey. There's a meandering journey where people start
definitely,
one
yeah.
thing, they might hear something else, and that takes them off down a whole other route.
yeah.
And I love listening to the journeys that people have taken and the things that maybe inspire their writing, maybe inspire them to hear someone else that then
Oh,
inspire
there are
their
definite
writing as well.
influences in the last sort of 5-6 years that, you know, I love everything that Sarah Jarosz does, for example.
Yes.
And she does some beautiful stuff on banjos and tenor guitars and all that
Yeah.
kind of thing. I love that. And then
Have you heard her as the 3 girls that now do it together?
With what,
So
Aoife
Sarah
O'Donovan?
Jarosz.
Aoife and
That's it.
It's Fred Donahue, isn't it?
The other Sarah Watkins.
Yes.
Yes.
From Nickel Creek originally.
Yeah.
Now they've
Yeah.
got a
And
great
Nickel
thing
Creek,
going.
I love them too.
Yeah.
And then all the other guys, the Dukes and people like that. It's just beautiful stuff. Just
And in fact, Nickel Creek have got back together again. You've seen their stuff recently. They've put out on YouTube. Amazing. Even better than they used to be.
and then there are
so I
amazing
know-
folk artists like John Smith and people like that that are just
Yeah, that's it. So Lauren's put in the chat, I'm with her. I mean, who comes up with a name like that? I mean, it's a cool name for a trio, isn't it? I'm with her.
Yeah.
That's
the one.
like
Lauren,
that
thank you.
T-shirt that said, I'm with this idiot. Yeah. So I just meant to pick up as well that the film that we were talking about with Neil Diamond is called The Jazz Singer.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah.
That's it.
And
I've
a
heard
great
of that.
film for someone who didn't do much in terms of the way of acting. He did pretty well in the film, but the soundtrack to it is just immense. Sam is online watching in. He said he was at the same concert you were with Mandolin Orange.
Oh, that's right. Yes, yeah, he was
Was he?
in Oxford. Yeah, and I'm sure he'll agree with me. The venue was horrible.
I remember playing in a hall somewhere, and the shape of this hall was a hexagon. And so you can imagine what it did to the sound. The sound just bounced around this
I've
place
played
and
in
repeated
hexagons,
on
they're
you and all
horrible.
sorts.
Yeah.
So it was almost like you were hearing three bands playing at once. It was dreadful. It was dreadful. Right, so we're going to get on to some more music. So who went first last time? Trey. So if Hatstand, if you can go first this time, that would be great.
Okay,
So
so
again-
of a banjo.
Again,
Okay.
2 songs. And if you can introduce... So if you're... Hatstand, are you ready? If you're not ready...
No, we're not. Can't use to tune the banjo up. Sorry.
Okay, I'm sure Trey won't mind if we make him go first again.
No, it's okay.
He won't hold it against you.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Very much.
thank you, Trey.
Yeah.
So we shall drop us into the background, and then Trey, again, 2 songs, and if you can kind of talk about the story behind them, that would be fantastic.
Sure. Okay.
And we'll see you in a few.
Okay. So, I want to do a old song and then a relatively new song. And by old, I mean I think I was like 16 when I wrote it. Maybe 17, probably 16. And it was I was going through a jazz influence phase, and also skipping a lot of school, not doing well in school, rebelling a little bit. And anyway, so this song is just kind of a take on that. It's a third person reflective song, I guess. Walked down the store and I ran into the door and I wondered to myself just what it was I'd come in there for. I thought that he was cool, I was skipping out of school, but what I didn't know is that he was a fool. And he needed to clear up his mind. But he told me he needed more time, sweet time. Well, dreaming appetizing wasn't so surprising, 'cause he stayed a-flying as high as a kite. And the munchies always hit him right before quitting in the dead of the night. And he liked to sip on boots from wine. He said 'cause it tasted just fine, real fine. Well, then there came a day that he went away. They sent him away, oh far, far away, to clean up his act. And every now and then he comes around and tells me all about his ups and downs and how he now he knows where he's at. And now that he's given up the wine, he knows just exactly what's fine all the time. And he would say, why do I just some little fun thing I wrote when I was a teenager. And then this next song is one called Lonely on the Road. And this one was more recent. And I wrote this actually as an apology song to my wife for traveling so much and being gone so often and so long each trip. And so this was to her, my wife Karen. And we've been married 33 years, by the way. So Lonely on the Road. Shadows fill my head, and on the road, there's loneliness ahead. And I've been so many places that it's hard to see the faces of the ones I love. Help me, Lord, above on the road. Feel this space and time, and on the road, way heavy on my mind. I've gotta make my next arrival. I'm gonna fight for our survival until I get back home. But when will I be home from the road? And I know it's time to say you're right. I know we fight 'cause I'm on the road. And on the road where the miles are never free, and on the road I left her heart to bleed. I've got to find the time to go back home. I left her crying all alone with angry words for company on the road. On the road. And it's lonely on the road. On the road. Lonely on the road. On the road. Lonely on the road. On the road. Lonely on the road. On the road.
Again, another two fantastic songs. I love that first one.
Oh,
That
thanks.
first one. The whole jazz vibe. You could imagine you were back in the kind of smoky club in the kind of 60s, 70s, listening to a quiet trumpet in the background, and then you come on and you kind of go, it works, man. So have you recorded that one at all?
Nope. Mm-mm. I haven't
Seriously?
recorded. The only one of these that I've played so far that I've recorded is the one I just played right now. Lonely on the
Okay,
Road.
I mean, I love that as well, and I love a great story, and I love a great thank you song, a kind of repentful song. I love those kind of vibes,
all
you
of
know,
that.
because you can always go, yeah, I've been there, I've
Yeah.
done that.
Yeah.
But I just the jazz one, I think definitely that's got a real vibe about it.
It's
So
a
you should
thing. I
record
don't
that.
play it very often. I don't pull that one out much, but I thought I would just give it a go.
It is great, and the guitar playing as well around it. I have to say, spectacular. Really good job.
You.
I
Yeah,
wish I could play
thank
half as good as that.
I
Right,
wish I
so
could
we
play
will.
twice as good as I do.
yeah. So that would mean I would have to play what 4 times as good. Yeah. Right,
much math,
I shall swap over the acts and we'll chat in a minute.
Okay.
Here is Hatstand, not the Hatstand.
We
Right,
can be the Hatstand if you want. We can be whatever you want us to be.
Oh man, he is so good, isn't he?
So here we have 2 more songs, 2 more songs from Hatstand, and then we will start asking you about songwriting approaches and things. So see you in about 6 or 7 minutes.
Sure. So here's another one. It's quite an old one. We've done it very well. This is a new arrangement, especially for tonight. That might last past tonight. We don't know. These are Kate's words and tunes again. So
This is just a song about all humans, husbands, wives, partners, children. None of them are property. Nobody owns anybody. Nobody should own anybody. We all have a right to be free.
good to go.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Blow me a puff of wishes scattered. Spare me the rod and spoil my child. The dress and the chains that keep me fettered, you tame yourself. I'll be wild. Leave me to walk the road less traveled. Release your grip and I will roam. I'm taking the threads of a life unraveled to weave me a nest, to be my home. I'm going down where the weeds are flowers to build me a swing amongst the trees, laughing and flirting with dark sweetest hours, and drink from the spring where the water is free. Blow me a puff of wishes scattered. Spare me the rod and spoil my child. The lures and the chains that keep me fettered, you take yourself, and I'll be wild. Thank you.
Right.
Good little instrument change. It's quicker than moving capos again. And this is one we've struggled with for a while. We've tried various versions of this song, and Kate said, "Nah, keep trying. We'll get it eventually. Keep trying." And the inspiration for this came from an interview I heard on the radio about somebody who'd worked away forever and finally realised that after 40 years that this was his last journey. He was going home. He was never going away again because he was retiring. And I just thought of my wife's dad. He worked at sea in his life, and Kate's dad, he worked away, and it's all rolled in together anyway. So what count it is. Let me start with the chorus.
Yeah.
1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Keep going. Capo G. Been away at sea, been away at war, been working land that's too far away. Now I'm coming home for the last time, coming home alive. Been away for far too long. Now I'm coming home. Quiet has grown between us. The kids have grown and gone. The pair of us grew old too soon. Now I'm coming home. Coming home for the last time. Coming home at last. Been away for far too long. Now I'm coming home. Time has passed too quickly. Past has up and gone. So quick before my bus pass arrived. Now I'm coming home. Coming home for the last time. Coming home at last. Been away for far too long. Now I'm coming home. Coming home for the last time. Coming home at last. Been away for far too long. Now I'm coming home. Coming home to my mother. Coming home to my kin. Coming to the home I worked for so long. Now I'm coming home. Coming home for the last time. Coming home at last. Been away for far too long. Now I'm coming home. Coming home for the last time. Coming home at last. Been away for far too long. Now I'm coming home. Coming home. You probably guessed by now. Thank you.
Marvelous. Again, you definitely get the Celtic kind of Irish vibe coming through that second song.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's all about the Dubliners and
It always
the
gets
Pogues
in
and all.
I was
there
gonna
somewhere.
say.
Doesn't it always find
Yeah, I
a
was going
way
to say
in?
you can hear almost the Dubliners coming through on it, can't you?
Yeah,
Great.
no secret about the influences there.
No.
Hey, I grew up as well, so I'm part Irish, but only a small part. But I don't know which
the best
part. I keep looking, but everywhere looks English. I don't know. But I grew up. My father was married to an Irish lady, a proper descendant Irish lady, and so I ended up kind of being influenced by the likes of Foster and Allen, Paddy Riley, Dubliners, and things like that. So again, you know, when you listen to some of the songs like the obvious ones, Fields of Athenry or The Rose of Allendale, the story in them and the little notes of history in them is what I love.
The history is amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
Some of those exile songs are amazing.
That's it. And it's one of the things I love. It. So have you heard of Gordon Lightfoot?
Oh God, yeah.
So you listen to Gordon Lightfoot songs as well. And again, if he was Irish, that was the kind of thing he's doing.
Yeah.
He's giving you little history lessons about stuff to do with kind of Canadian sort of history, as well as creating great melodic songs you want to sing along to. Brilliant. Okay, well, we have been treated. Right, so I almost forgot to come back online then, because I was listening and I was typing messages to share to people, and I thought, do you know that you get to that moment you think, was that their first song or the second song? I'm sure it's the second song, but if not, I've missed the boat. So I managed to come back on at the right time. So I just to say I have. So normally we ask for artists to share their tip jar links, so that we can, for the treat of listening to their music, whether you want to donate, you know, the price of a coffee or a beer. But we've said this month we're going to do a charity kind of link to a charity called Make Some Noise. So Make Some Noise, I've put the link in the chat, and it's a charity that is quite sort of dear to me, because a young girl that we featured on the show before, Paige Morris, she released an album of 27 different artists from open mics and across the kind of scene for this charity, and the charity supports child development and things through music. So it brings two great causes together, I think.
Wow.
So again, if you want to donate, if you want to kind of just throw a couple of bucks, if we're talking in Trey's language, or a few pounds if we're talking in our language, then it's a great charity, and they will value it. So some more questions. So here's my really geeky question now. This is the one that's probably my favourite. So I love writing songs. I love the process of writing songs. I love to vary the way I write songs. I love the whole kind of intricacy of building stories and things like that. So we're interested in what kind of is your typical, it may not be all the time, but what's your typical approach to writing songs? Do you start with melody most often? Do you start with words first? Is it a bit of a mix? You know, give us a bit of a flavour of how you approach it. So we'll ask Keith. We'll ask you first.
Mine is always the words first, because it's always a mood thing. And a lot of my songs are, although they're quite personal, they're usually deflected to be about people near me and around me, and they're not autobiographical. They usually start with something I've experienced, and then I start drawing in other bits and bobs. It's always the words first, and then I put a tune on it, and then the words don't fit, and I have to change them. I always find that quite bizarre, because I'm writing the words, have a definite rhythm, and then when I find a tune, I don't find the same rhythm, and so I go back and I rewrite the words. But I don't know how other people write, but for me it's a stream of consciousness. And once I've got an idea, I get it down as quickly as I can in its draft form while I've got that idea in my head. And then I go back and refine it, and sometimes I make it rhyme, sometimes I don't bother, and sometimes I make it scan, and sometimes I don't bother. And sometimes I get about part way through and I think, only the first verse of this is worth keeping, and it just stays there for years on the back burner until I find the rest of it.
So do you kind of, you say you write depending on the mood and things. So do you write similarly because you're in a certain place in the house or whatever, and you kind of you're feeling in a certain mood, so you write with that in mind, or do you kind of go, I want to write a song, and I want to write a song that's got this kind of mood to it?
Oh, I wish I could do that. No, it's definitely the other way around. Something comes to me and I think, oh, that's an idea for a song, and I start writing it down, and so it goes. And the song we're going to start the next thing is, how it's the darkest thing I've ever written. And I was actually on morphine when I wrote this song, and it shows in the words.
Okay,
And,
just saying we don't encourage drugs.
No,
Just
I
saying.
was being given to me. I was on medication. It was a
Right.
very bad time, and I was on the phone to somebody at work, and he said, "You should write a song one in this state because you sound bloody awful." And I said, "All right then." So, and I did, and reading back, and it's like it does reflect where I was at that time. But the one afterwards is one of a number of songs that are "She's Gone But I'm Not Bitter" kind of songs, which is a recurring theme that many people will identify with. And it's not about one specific person; it's about everybody, because we all hear stories. You know, she left me, you know, and it's always her fault, obviously. Or if it's a lady writes, it's always his fault, you know. And there's a whole series of those, and they're quite impersonal. They're just like all the bits of stories I've picked up over life of different people's things. And I quite
She's
enjoy
not
those
gone,
songs.
and I'm not bitter, but I'm a good liar.
No, she's gone, but I'm not bitter. No. There's no bitterness in mine. You'll hear. There's no bitterness in there.
Yeah. We know you're lying. So for you generally, then the mood dictates how you're kind of
absolutely.
feeling about
Every
how you want to
time,
write
yeah.
the song,
Yeah.
and you'll kind of write the words. You'll have a bit of a rhythm in your mind, and then you'll kind of try and put your melody to it. And that.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Okay. Kate, what about you?
Well, I'm a bit like a child, really, in many ways. In that it's all very new. The whole thing is very new to me. So I'm just constantly learning new things. So I will learn something new on the guitar, and it will send me down a rabbit hole of exploration, and I might come up with some kind of tune. But I could never write words to fit a tune. So
Right.
I often write words, life, the universe, just stuff that happens.
So do you do
find
poetry
themselves
as well?
No, I don't write poetry. I
Right.
write. I guess they become lyrics because all in my head it's always in a song. But I never knew how to play, so they just stayed. I guess essentially they were poems, but I didn't regard them as poems. I just regarded them as words waiting for a tune to come along. And then at some point, words and music just kind of coalesce, but the two very often exist quite separately. I'll be playing the tune for a long time, and some words will feel like they will fit with that. So I'll say, okay, I'll use those words and I'll make that into a song. But it's a very instinctive thing. It just happens.
Yeah, so quite a sort of mixed approach. You might be playing something, and then it might spark something in your mind, and you might write something, or you might go, actually, those words that I wrote over there might go with this, and you kind of then build and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's to me that's quite an unusual process. So
Right.
so quite. Obviously we've asked this question a lot of times.
It's probably based on because I come from a place of absolute ignorance. So you know that thing of like, you don't know what the rules are, so you just do it.
So again, I always say there is no right and wrong to these sorts of things. There's no right or wrong way to write a song, and there's no kind of right or wrong answer to. People lay out frameworks for writing songs because they go commercially. That's kind of what fits. But I think what you do start to see is songwriting tends to fall into one of two camps. It tends to fall into either I write the words and then I work out the melody to it, or I pick up an instrument and I start playing melody and then I start singing in my head, words start coming out, and then I finish the kind of song. What you don't see as much in kind of the experience of talking to different songwriters is people kind of going, well, I might start playing this verse and then some words might come to me, but then they might fit with these over here, and I wrote these a while ago, so I might then, which is much more, I suppose, it's almost like Meccano. You're going, there's a bit there, and actually when it feels right, I pull them together. To me, that's quite unusual.
I might think of a tune, or I might think of some words, and I might actually decide to draw a picture based on that. You know, I mean, it's going to come out some way or another, and it may be musically or lyrically or drawing or,
So you
or
are
whatever.
definitely one of them creative folks who kind of, whether it's
Yeah.
paint, colour, art, words, music, whatever it is. Yeah.
Mhm.
I am a brilliant copier. So I look at what someone else has done. And I go, how can I write that in my own words in a different way and things like that. So someone gives me a blank sheet of paper, and that's probably quite hard for me because I almost need the seeds. I almost need a bit of a framework to then think, right, now I can write around that framework. Otherwise, I just end up with lots of bits of songs like that, millions of them. So it's quite an unusual process, I think. So Trey, then, what would be your typical approach?
I think my so I have a mixed bag. It's Nashville, and so there are different schools. One school is you write from a hook, whether it's a song title or a line, and you write around that hook, right? So I have a notebook of lyrical hooks that come to me, and I keep up with that. But then I also have I use Music Memo on my iPhone when I'm playing, and I come up with a lot of musical ideas. So I call them musical hooks. You know, it might be chord progressions or chord changes, or a combination of a rhythm and a chord change that has a nice feel to it. And so I have that musical hook, and then sometimes it's a story, and you just want to write that story. You know, I think so. The next two songs, I'll give you an example. One was a story and a song title with no music whatsoever. We came up with that first, and then I created some music to go with it. And then the other one was totally just music and chords and melodic music, and then words. I fit words to that, you know.
Right.
If that makes sense.
So do you kind of, or does anyone, I guess this is just a general question for anyone, do you have a place where you see in some films, someone will be in a late night bar drinking coffee writing songs. Someone else will kind of go into the woods and sit there on a log and write songs and things like that. Do you have a set place, or do you just write wherever and whenever it takes your inspiration or it takes your fancy?
You know, it's odd. I can write a song while listening to music on an airplane, and while that music is playing,
Hopefully you're not flying
earbuds.
the airplane.
No, I'm not flying the airplane.
Good.
I can totally come up with something while I'm listening to something else. I don't know why I can do that. It's, I guess, practice maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. I could be listening to Jason Isbell, and then all of a sudden I'll get an idea that's a tangent of something he might have said, but it's a total tangent off of one line that goes in another direction, and I'll write a song to that, or at least
Whilst
half
you're
a song
listening to him.
while I'm listening to something else, but I'll tune it out, you know.
Okay. See, that's
Can't
what
do that.
I can't do.
Yeah,
No, I can't do
yeah.
that.
So I can listen to something and think,
Yeah.
something's just popped into my mind. I like where the direction or the rhythm sort of sets me off, but then I've got to
Yeah.
almost step away from the music.
Yeah, there's an
Because
there's an
otherwise-
idea in a line. There's a line, but then that sparks another idea, and off
That's
I go.
it.
You know,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Okay.
And
So I
I've
guess
got a touch of synesthesia too, so I can hear sounds and see colors sometimes. Have you ever?
yeah.
Heard of that?
So I'm not very good at. So I can't. I can hear my guitar and I can play my guitar and I
Yeah.
can fit that in, but I don't find it very easy to then think what else and how else would that sound. So when I did my album, there were certain tracks where I could almost hear somebody else playing violoncello.
Sure. Yep.
So I kind of then just went, let me almost play that melody out that I'm hearing so that I can then try and work out how do I put it in as a MIDI or something like that. But that's about the extent of it.
Yeah.
I just can't. Harmonics and things, I'm rubbish. The amount of times someone said to me, "Can we sing a song together?" and you do the harmony bit, I go, "No, because within three bars, I'll end up just singing the bit you're singing, and then it will just sound horrible." Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'm very lucky there because I can write a song, and all the time I'm writing it, I think, yeah, but this made it quite simple because Kate's put some lovely harmony over it for me. I know she is. So I can keep my part actually very simple and understated, but it does rely on the fact I'm not going to sing it solo. So if I sang it solo, well, this next one we're going to do, it would be a dirge. It needs that extra, but I've got that luxury I can write with the idea that Kate's going to come along and put some guitar and some harmony on it, which is a lovely thing. It's interesting to say about the different writing styles. There's one song we did with Lauren in Greengrass, and we came across this song Rebel Soldier, which we all liked. But when we came across it, it was when the Black Lives Matter protests were kicking off. There was something about it because it's about the deep south of America and the Civil War. We just felt uncomfortable singing the words. And so that went completely the opposite way around. We got a tune, somebody else's tune. We got a theme that was all about soldiers and hate and war. So I wrote some new lyrics for that to get away, so we weren't treading on anybody's toes with Black Lives Matter. And that's the only time I've done that, is to go completely the other way around. Got a perfectly good tune, a perfectly good theme. I just wrote some words that we were more comfortable with. That we still got the message across of bloody hate war, but without feeling like we were treading on toes. That was a really nice experience, actually.
Yeah,
that's turned out well.
I do think that in itself is a bit of an art, because you go when I write a song, you want it to be personal, you want to connect to it.
Yeah.
But also, when you start then thinking commercially, you go, a song needs to have broader appeal so it can connect to a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah.
So then you kind of go, at what point do I start stripping out bits and pieces that are defined to me, that are connected to me, that I then have to make, generic?
You've got to take out the autobiographical bits and make them more
that's
more accessible to somebody else and be... That's what I say, even the ones that start out with being a personal experience, I try and bring in the idea, well, that's what happened to me, but it's also happened to other people, and then broaden it out a bit to be more of a general theme rather than, and then I did this, and then I did that, and then I felt like this, and I felt like that, because no one wants to hear that.
I do find.
And also, I think when you write a song, once you've written it, you don't own it any longer. I mean, I know there's things like copyright and all of that malarkey, but in terms of once you've created it, it's like a painting. It simply exists, and it's a gift. Once you sing that to someone else, it becomes almost their song. They interpret it, they receive it. So you give it, but actually other people receive that, and so.
Do you know what? I think you must have been
it.
talking to Sam Schemmel.
Oh, really?
Because he does that to all my songs. I write them and sing them, and he takes them.
As an audience member, as a listener, and so it's kind of these things are just out there.
But isn't that a lovely thing when you write a song and somebody else takes it and presents it back to you with their interpretation of it?
Yeah, so I've had it a few times, and I'm massively respectful when somebody else says, "Can I sing your song?" Because you go, well, whether you're in the audience singing along to it or whether you're another artist that says, "Can I cover your song?" I always kind of find that massively respectful.
Yeah.
Because it's always it's when an audience sings it in a pub, you kind of go, it's because they've followed you, they know you, things like that. When another artist wants to do it, it's a whole different level of respect and kind of connection. So, I love that. Just not too many of them. Or at least leave me some of the good ones.
And also, sometimes somebody covers your song, and when you hear it, oh, okay, well, thanks for covering it, but I really wish you hadn't, because that's horrible. But I'll take the respect.
So you did you put a tune to one of my songs.
I did, yeah.
Keith. And I had this song kicking around for ages and ages, and I couldn't find a way to do it. But in my head, I'd been kind of thinking, I can imagine it sort of going like this. And then when Keith did his melody to it and then sent it back to me, it was almost as if we'd had the conversation.
Yeah.
And I said, if I can imagine it, this is how I would do it. And it came back to me, and I was going, oh my God, that's so scary. It's kind of like how I would do it.
But it can't suggest that the words had the melody already in them.
And that's where my writing process is. Quite often as I'm writing, I'm singing a melody as I'm writing it. And that's sometimes good because it gets you a step ahead, but it's also sometimes bad because if you write songs in in the same sort of place, and you're driven by the same sorts of moods, the chances are when you come up with about 12 songs, they're all going to sound a bit the same.
Yeah. Well, I've got some
So
words I wrote. I found them a couple of weeks ago actually. I wrote them ages ago. I thought, oh, I'll put a tune to that, and I put a tune to it. And I went, oh no, that sounds exactly like that other song I wrote. Never mind, I'll throw that tune away. So I tried again, and I wrote another tune. And I went, oh no, that sounds like that other song I wrote. So they're still sitting there waiting for a tune. So I've written 2 tunes that I've already written before. So yeah.
Well, I've got, at last count, it was just under 200 songs, and out of those 200, I think probably maybe 50 of them are complete with melodies. And every time I try and attempt to put a new melody to one of my other songs, I go, oh, for God's sake, it sounds like the other one now.
It's that one,
and it sounds like that.
Yeah.
But then for me, because I've got a damaged hand, I can only play certain chords.
Yeah.
So I then get to the point where I go, I need some collaboration, because otherwise it's always my brain thinking in the same way with the same set of fingers on the same chords, giving me the same outcome. So I do think sometimes you've almost got to push yourself to expose yourself to something different. So you get a different feeling, a different vibe, a different kind of, like, Trey was talking about, he'll be listening to something and then that will inspire something different. I listened to a Mumford and Sons track, and whilst I was listening to it, something popped into my head, and I wrote a song that was completely different to pretty much most of everything else I've written.
Wow. That's cool.
And that's the beauty sometimes, I think, which is why I like this whole exploring people's process, because you go, sometimes you learn something where you think, I never thought of that. I'll try that and I'll do that just to see what comes out.
I'm not going to try Trey's one. I'm listening to one thing and trying to write one. That's never going to work for me. I'm just writing down the song I'm listening to. I know. That is
I've been listening to his going, God damn it, why can't I write that? Why can't I write that? Right, okay, let's get some more music, and then hopefully we'll have a few minutes at the end just to let people know where they can catch up with you, if you're playing anywhere, doing any live streams, things like that. So as Trey has been first twice now, Hatstand, if you don't mind going first, and then 2 songs, same as before, and then I'll swap you over with Trey.
Okay.
We'll see you in a few minutes.
Well, you turn back up again because you're picking, aren't you? So, as mentioned a short while ago, I was actually dosed up on morphine when I wrote this. I'd had an accident and done my back in. And morphine, I discovered, doesn't necessarily make you pain-free, but it does take you to a very interesting place. Unless you write a curious song.
And it's quite foggy in this place.
It's quite foggy.
Apparently.
It's quite foggy in this morphine-induced place. Just get Kate in tune.
Right.
It even has a chorus, but it's very miserable. Okay. Starts on the chorus. 2, 3, 4. Half-crazed dark of the nearly dawn, he stares through the gloom at crows on the lawn. He sees it as he was before the fog. The spider web hangs wet and still, a breath of wind drifts across the hill, the silence broken only by the bark of a dog. Fog is slowly coming down. The fog creeps in without a sound. No one knows where it all begins. stops the fog from getting in. There's something hiding in the shadows in the wood. It's a force that lurks that means no good. The light's so dim it has no shape or form. When a new day dawns it breaks the spell. His shallow breath is all that tells. Another fearful battle has been won. Fog is slowly coming down. The fog creeps in without a sound. No one knows where it all begins. Things stops the fog from getting in. Fog is slowly coming down. The fog creeps in without a sound. No one knows where that all begins, but nothing stops the fog from getting in. Stout-hearted men in tales so bold conquer all with swords and stones. Nothing in these tales is half as grim. Only one can win, either it or him. There's no great prize, just sink and swim. As the evening fades, the battle starts again. Fog is slowly coming down. The fog creeps in without a sound. No one knows where it all begins, but nothing stops the fog from getting a miserable ditty. But we'll cheer you up with something completely different.
One of those, she's gone, but he's not bitter.
Really, I'm not. And I'll just make some space here. So I get the double. It wouldn't be a Hatstand set without the double bass.
No, it really wouldn't. So I think this is it's self-explanatory, really. Sorry, when you go from 7 to Capo 7, that is, to nothing, you're going to have to tune something.
So this one nearly got a chorus, but then it didn't. It's just got one line at the end that repeats. And we have done this one to audiences that just make up their own words. It's quite off-putting, really. But then it hasn't helped because we've sung the words wrong as well. So
Yeah, the song's actually called As I Came in the Front Door.
Love ran out the back.
Love ran out the back, but she comes in the window, love goes up the chimney, I don't know, it all happens, you know how it is sometimes, it just, and because I have to sing, basically,
Whatever rubbish comes out my mouth.
yeah, I have to harmonise with it, so.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And I'll put my mute on. The double bass will be slightly subdued. It won't be blasted out too much, hopefully. But Go.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. As I came in the front door, love ran out the back. Got on board the early train and ran on down the track. I looked around my living room and the memories that were there. I realized that I was okay and I really didn't care. As I came in the front door, love ran out the back. I wasn't broken hearted, I didn't give a damn. She left all of my whiskey and my guitar in my hand. I sat down in my favorite chair with a bottle and a brand new tune. And if I never see her again, it won't be a moment too soon. As I came in the front door, love ran out the back. Once upon a time I thought we couldn't be apart. But if I'd been a wiser man, I'd realized from the start she wasn't who I thought she was, and the man I thought was me, he turned out to be someone else, but now she set me free. As I came in the front door, love ran out the back. Somewhere down the road away, things will turn out fine. She'll be living her life and I'll be living mine. It clearly wasn't meant to be, that's fine, I'm moving on. At least she gave me the inspiration to write another song. As I came in the front door, love ran out the back. As I came in the front door, love ran out the back. Got on board the early train and headed down the track. I looked around that living room and the memories that were there. I realized that I was okay, I really didn't care. As I came in the front door, love ran out the back. As I came in the front door, love ran out the back. As I came in the front door, love ran out the back. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for putting up with us.
I have to say, when that bass came on, I think I must have shifted about 2 foot across the sofa.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's great. Those lovely bass kind of tones coming through. You could feel things vibrating. It was like I was 17 again in my first car with the music pumping out like crazy. Awesome.
I did move back, honest.
I know. I mean, there's only so much you can do with kind of muting a bass, really, isn't there? But
Yeah, it
was
is, yeah.
great. It was great.
Thank you.
So we had requests for the bass anyway, so we needed to have some bass.
Oh, well, there we are. Yeah, it's not Hatstand without the bass. That's
it.
That's our signature instrument, really.
That's it. Right, so we will do a quick swap over, and we will taking us into our final 2 songs of the show. We've got Trey, so I'll drop Hatstand back into the background, and then the floor's yours for the final 2 songs.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you. And thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it. We're having some awful weather here in Nashville. It's creeping in. It's that tornadic kind of weather, so our electricity might go out. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but anyway, just thought I would mention that in case you lose me. The last 2 songs I have, one's really old. I think I've played around with it for like 30 years, and I wrote probably 90% of it when I was 17 maybe, and just started out as music, and then I started fitting words to it. It's called Dreamers. It's about people who are just in love with being in love, and then it gets old real quick, and they're just kind of dreamers. So that's the idea for this song here, little slow tune. Goes like this. Time has come, no longer one, love has ended. Now Now we are through and I'm over you, love rescinded. I look into your eyes, stare and wonder why I ever needed you, or that you needed me too. We were only dreamers, waiting for someone to come and fill our lives. But now we wait to find another love, another time. When love was ours, so overpowering, like the blue skies. Now we read between the lines and lie from time to time, with love no longer there. Can't find it anywhere. We were only dreamers, waiting for someone to come and fill our lives. But now we wait to find another love, another time. And thought we'd be together. You said we'd last forever. Oh, but now we know the truth, that love was ours to lose. But would we still have tried even if we knew we were only dreamers, waiting for someone to come and fill our lives? But now we wait to find another love, another time. And now we wait to find another love, another time. So that's the first one, my slow one. And then this next one is one that my wife and I wrote together recently. We got on that Ancestry.com and started looking up our family history and genealogy and what have you, and found my wife's great-great-great-grandmother's arrest record here in Nashville. And we're old school. We've got roots in Nashville going back a couple hundred years, both of us. We found my wife's great-great-great-grandmother's arrest record for lewd behavior and selling liquor, which I said, man, we need to write a song about that. And she said, we'll call it Run Granny Run. So this is what we wrote. First attempt at a bluegrass song. Run, Granny, run. Run, Granny, run. Granny made her liquor in the hills of Tennessee. No one could get enough of her family recipe, and the town would bring her sugar just to help us all get by. But those revenuers knew that Granny wasn't making pie, so the law made a plan to take old Granny down. They'd throw her in the wagon and then haul her back to town. But after years of trying just to bring old Granny in, well, they never brought her running to an end. No. Run, Granny, run. Selling all that liquor before the morning comes. She knew it wasn't legal, but she didn't give a damn. And cooking in the kitchen never was her daddy's plan. With corn and maple sugar, both in her recipe, her secrets passed down through the family. Oh, yeah. Run, Granny, run. Run, Granny, run. Run, Granny, run.
I have to say that's my favourite of the night.
Is it all right?
That's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a
I'll tell my
cool
wife.
song. What was that line? Granny wasn't making pie or something.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is amazing.
That's
And
brilliant.
I have to say, much respect to the guitar playing as well. So
Oh,
there
thank
was
you.
some cross picking going on in there. I could.
There
tell.
was some
Yeah,
cross picking, yep.
that was great.
I almost lost that pick too, right there in the middle somewhere.
Do you know, so I was kind of sitting there thinking, in that song there must have been at least 25 chords, and that is 21 more than I know. There was the
have no idea.
rundowns.
I honestly
was
don't
great.
know most of the chords I play. I just kind of play.
Just remember, you can get away with anything when you say it's a fingers there chord.
It's a
Yeah.
it's a what is it? Finger there
It's a
chord.
fingers there. Yeah.
Fingers there. I gotta write
That's
that
it,
down,
yeah.
man.
And what you don't realise and what they don't realise either is I could see Kate in the background kind of going like this. Dancing away as well. So
That
she
was a
loved
great,
it. She
great
loved
song. Oh,
a
yeah,
great
loved
song,
it.
yeah.
Loved it.
it. Absolutely. So listen, we are just slightly over time, so I'm conscious, obviously, that we sort of said it was a 2-hour show. So I don't want to miss out on people kind of being able to just find out where to catch up with you. If you've got albums, tell us about them so people can find out where they are. So, Trey, do you want to kick it off? Have you got
Sure.
albums? Have you done albums?
I did one little project just for fun. I don't really have any albums out. I don't record. I kind of like write them in the sand. I like to play live and just catch me live somewhere or do these live streams. That's kind of what I like to do. I did one little 5-song EP project. It was going to be an album, but I got sick. Over here we have a thing called Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever that you get from a tick bite. And I was cleaning the woods, and it put me in the hospital for a while, recovering from that. So I didn't finish, so I only got 5 of the 10 or 12 songs that I recorded on there. And you can find it online. It's titled Lonely on the Road, and it was an ode to my parents. And it's after that 60s and 70s country music. And I actually used some of the players, some of the musicians from that era that were all friends of my father's. And so they're all some of Nashville's Hall of Fame studio musicians. So it's a nice little 5-song EP called Lonely on the Road, and it's available everywhere.
So what I will do is I will
online.
find the link to it, and I
Yeah.
will add the link in later on.
Cool. Yeah.
Because again, it'd be really good.
Yeah, online, just Trey Ackerman on Instagram. And I've got some stuff on YouTube. I did a quarantine cover song series on YouTube for fun. Well, actually, my wife made me do it.
Check them
Damn
out.
wives.
We did.
It's
They're
a good
great.
thing, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, I would never have made it to Nashville had my wife not coerced me into getting on a plane to do
Yeah.
a trip once. So,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you kind of go, "Damn you," but then other times you go, "Actually, that was a good shout. Well done.
Yeah.
Good shout."
Well, listen, I'm gonna bounce. We're getting a storm warning, and I'm gonna go downstairs and hide out for a little while.
Oh,
No, that's
Okay.
totally
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for giving us your
Yeah.
time. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
staying a little bit over. And I hope I'll be able to get you on to do some stuff as well again at
Love
some
to.
point somewhere. It's been an absolute joy.
Thank you.
It's
So
been
go and get
lovely
yourself
to
safe.
meet you.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
And
Yeah.
hopefully
See
the
you soon.
storm will pass peacefully.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
See you guys.
See you again
Bye.
soon.
Take
Everyone
care.
say
Bye.
goodbye to Trey.
Bye.
Bye.
So, Keith, Kate, where can we find more music from the Hatstand? So I know you've got at least one album because you were talking about it earlier. So
Well, it's a bit
so where
funny
can
because
people find you?
it's not really for release. It's a self-indulgent
It's
keepsake.
just what do you do in lockdown? Basically, you record some stuff. It's kind of you
It's
can't
not-
buy it.
You can't
it's
buy
just,
it. It's, yeah.
It's around. If somebody wants one, they can message us or whatever, and they can have one. But
There's no double bass
Yeah.
on it.
there's no. It's 2 guitars, 2 voices. That's all it is.
It's really
and,
gentle.
It's a whole different thing.
So,
very
and the
rustic,
added
very
treat you get is
You
that
get a
Nick.
free knitted CD cover.
Why did I say Nick again? Why do I keep doing that? I'm gonna have to shoot myself. So the added treat you get as well is that if you want some of the music, they won't post it to you. What Keith will do is he will launch it.
I'll launch it.
So,
Yeah.
so he will put it on this plank of wood and he will thump
Yeah.
one end and he'll send it via kind of launch.
Yeah.
Like air post.
That's what we did. We launched
That's
it.
it,
We
yeah.
launched it in exactly that way, and we videoed it. And I'm currently editing the video. So
But to
So are
To catch up
are
with
you
us,
on all the
basically
social
we're
media as
live.
Hatstand?
yeah, we're on Facebook. I think we're on Hatstand Band still. You'll find us on Facebook.
Okay.
That's it. We don't do anything else. I'll put the gigs up there.
We
when we're
don't
actually
try
playing out
very
live. We don't try very hard. Basically, we just go out and play a lot. We just love playing.
Yeah.
So when we're allowed to play out, all our events will be on there. I'll put a few videos up because we've been on the Virtual Voltage, and there's a place in Birmingham we play called Ecos, and they do some virtual stuff. So I've started posting some videos up that we recorded for these people to include us in their shows. Actually, we're on Virtual Voltage tonight. One of our videos. That's an interesting eclectic mix of music that Pat puts out down in Stony Stratford. But yeah,
It's
check out our
strange, isn't
Facebook
it?
page.
You say you don't try very hard, but you play lots of different places live. Whereas I
But
try
we just
really
go out
hard
and
and I
play.
don't
We don't-
anywhere
we don't-
live.
Oh, we don't promote it as such. We just kind of, if people want us, we're more than happy to go and play. But there's a place near here called Coatspatch, and last year we were doing music in the yard, but everybody could get out, and we were allowed out, and it wasn't raining too heavily. And we just went and played outside this cafe. And the first weekend we did it was after we were allowed out the first time. They said, "Go shopping, everybody!" And we went and played outside Annie's cafe because you've been shut for the whole lockdown. She says, "Oh, let's make it a bit special." We thought we were playing to about 6 people outside the cafe. Only there's a motorbike, leather, several leathers and helmets shop.
Oh, yeah.
And over the course of the afternoon, I think there were 200 bikers there while we were playing. It was just me and Kate. We were acoustic because we weren't sure what the rules were. And nearly every song we had to cut short as a motorbike arrived or left. It was utter chaos, but it was just a delightful afternoon. And we just keep going
Yeah.
back there. Yeah,
A different kind of bass tone, I guess.
absolutely, yeah.
yeah.
it really is
we
just
get,
about playing live. Keith posts up where we're playing and when we're playing, and that's it. And when all of this is over and we all come out blinking into the sunlight, we will just
We'll be out there with the double
Make
bass
some
annoying
music.
people again.
just that.
I was going to say, let's hope people support small venues and live gigs and things like that.
Exactly.
Well, the feedback I'm getting so far from talking to people is that people are desperate for it, so I hope they will come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again,
like they will.
artists who are doing these things, because you hear about people who, they're getting paid 80 quid for a gig, and
Yeah.
yet they'll have travelled 2 hours to get there, 2 hours
Yeah.
to get back. They'll have bought
Yeah.
a load of equipment. They'll have poured their heart and soul into songs,
Yeah.
for 80 quid. So I hope that people do kind of get a newfound respect for songwriters, local artists, and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Because one of the things we're trying to promote is let's get back to proper songwriters in pubs, clubs, not just the tribute acts and things like that. There's a place for those sorts of things.
But we like to mix this up. We do write our own stuff. We do a load of covers, though. To be fair, most of our covers that we do as Hatstand are quite obscure.
Very cool.
Often people ask us if we've written them because they're so obscure. But
And you do them
Uh,
in your own style.
well, that's an
Yeah.
unfortunate accident. I'm actually crap at copying people, so I set out to do quite a decent impression, but by the time it's got through my fingers and my mouth, it's unrecognisable.
we kind of,
Yeah,
we
and
take
long
other
may it
people's
continue.
songs and we bend them out of shape. And
Long may it continue. Do it your own way. Yeah.
Oh, it's just great fun. This is our whole thing is just so much fun, and we're so lucky to be able to do it. And,
No,
and
that's
things
good,
like
that's
this are just the
yeah,
food
it's
of
been
life
great
for
fun.
us.
And Trey's been, it's just like
What a treat! Yeah,
He
yeah,
is good.
absolute
He is
joy,
good.
isn't
yeah.
it? So
Yeah,
good.
and I guess because I'm more country, I mean, naturally he's right on my street anyway.
Yeah.
And he comes from Nashville, so
I know.
Yeah.
it's like we are destined to be brothers. He
Yes.
doesn't know
Yeah,
it
yeah,
yet,
yeah.
but we will be.
I'm sure you'll find
Um,
some paperwork you can fill in somewhere.
He's the real
That's
deal.
right.
Yeah.
So just let me say thank you very much, because it's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, I've seen you kind of live and stuff anyway, so I kind of knew about you anyway. I'd seen you before, but it's a treat having you on here as well, especially
thanks for having
when
us.
you're saying you don't do much in the way of live streaming. So
No,
it's a pleasure to
no.
have you here.
Well, thank you, because you have made it really comfortable.
We've had a
Oh,
lovely
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
Doesn't feel
Well,
like the Hunger Games at all, people.
yeah. I'm not sure where you got that vibe from, but it certainly wasn't.
We have
where
done a
were
couple of
looking.
Zoom things that have felt more like
Very
the Hunger
scary,
Games.
very scary. No, you've been really lovely,
It is
so
lovely.
thank you.
It is a mixed bag, but say I do it because I love it, and it's a shame Sam's not here because
Yeah.
he would have loved sitting and listening and chatting as well. But we'll do some more stuff as well. One of the things I do is I do something called Andy and Friends, which is on a Wednesday night. So maybe I'll drop you a message. I don't know why I did that when I said drop you a message.
Yeah,
You know.
that's exactly how we talk these days.
That's it. And then maybe
Oh,
you
hello,
can
Andy.
do some stuff on that.
Tricky
Yeah.
to type with my finger stuck in my ear.
That's it. Yeah. The amount of
That'd be
times I
great,
look
thank
at
you.
my wrist like that to go and look at
Yeah.
and my
Yeah.
clock's on the other one, but never mind. So thank you very much. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you to the
staying
audience
as well
for
for that
hanging
extra little bit
around.
of time.
Yeah.
Thank you all the people who bothered to tune in and comment. We'll read your comments later. We can't see the television screen from over here. So.
No.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. So I'm going to finish off with a song. So I will. You are free to depart, obviously, because I know I've kept you longer than we kind of said. So thank you very much. So I'll drop you into the background, and then I'll catch up with you again soon, and you're
Nice one,
kind of
Andy.
free to go, and then I shall
So thank you to Sam.
drown
and
out
thank
the
you
last
all
bit
the
with a
people.
song.
Lovely.
Thank you. Bye.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Cheers.
Take
Bye.
So thank you to our wonderful guests. Thank you to you, our audience, for staying with us and kind of listening in. I have to say, I just love the quality of acts we get to kind of put in front of you. So it's a real pleasure. So I'm going to finish off with a song of mine, and then I'm going to say goodnight, and I'm going to go and drink some more gin and watch a little bit of TV. So this is a song. I wrote this song probably about maybe a year ago, or maybe slightly longer, but it's probably about a year to kind of like 14, 15 months. And I sung it a few times, and I really love it. But I didn't think it was necessarily something that other people, kind of thought was that great. So I almost stopped singing it. And then I dusted it off and played it a few times recently. And people seem to like it. So I've connected with it all over again. And it's called Heaven in This Place. And it's a song I wrote. I did a piece of work once, and I went to Blackpool to do this work. And I came away from doing this piece of work, and it was a really stressful day. It was quite hard. The client was quite difficult, and it was challenging. So I could have easily jumped in the car and gone home. And I thought, while I'm here, why not just go for a walk on the beach? So I walked down onto the beach, took my shoes and socks off, and I just walked along the sand on the beach. And there were seagulls, there were people walking along the beach hand in hand, and it was just one of those moments where you thought, I feel great, I feel amazing. And at that point, I thought, if there was a heaven, there's heaven in this place. So that was where the inspiration for the song came from. So this is called Heaven in This Place. I was trying to clear the dust from my mind. I was in a bind. It's something I find from time to time. I needed to escape for one day, to wash away this feeling of grey, this cloudy day. With the seagulls passing over my head, the darkness fled, cleared the way ahead, my doubts were shed. And the loved ones making memories as they go, as the love does grow, they come to know their ducks are in a row. So I'm walking with my shoes in my hand, and I'm walking with my toes pressed in the sand. The breaking waves cast surf upon my face. I do believe there's heaven in this place. And the wind blows free all the trouble in me, and I'm feeling a little stronger than before. And it gets my mind to wondering, I guess that's just what heaven's for. And I'm walking with my shoes in my hand, and I'm walking with my toes pressed in the sand. The breaking waves cast surf upon my face. I do believe there's heaven in this place. And I'm walking with my shoes in my hand, and I'm walking with my toes pressed in the sand. The breaking waves cast surf upon my face. I do believe there's heaven in this place. There we go, a little bit of heaven in this place. Right, so I shall say thank you all for watching and kind of contributing, talking to our artists and things like that. We'll be back next month. I can't for the life of me remember who we've got on next month, but I will message and I will put a post out about it. So in the meantime, stay safe, get your jabs, and hopefully we will all be seeing each other pretty soon. Take care and thank you for joining us this evening. Good night.